This is Radio Prague International coming to you from the Czech capital.
Hello and welcome to the weekend edition of Czechia in 30 minutes. I'm Vít Pohanka, and in this program we'll hear from Jan Bumba, a spokesperson of Charles University in Prague. As you will hear, he's a journalist who recently decided to make quite a change in his professional life.
I felt like I needed a change, and I thought it might be a good idea to try something completely different this time. Not just to go to another media, but try another job position.
So, this is Radio Prague International and conversation with Jan Bumba, spokesperson of Charles University, reflecting on how a 700-year-old Czech institution keeps reinventing itself in the 21st century.
My name is Jan Bumba, and I'm currently the spokesperson of the Charles University. I've been in this job for about 3.5 months or so. I started in July, and it's a brand new world for me, to be honest, because it's my first job as a spokesperson of any institution ever. And before that, I worked as a journalist for about 25 years. And most of the time I've spent in the Czech radio, or if I may say, behind the microphone. So I worked as a journalist and a presenter.
Of course, I mean, a lot of Czech listeners will know you from Czech Radio Plus, as we call that station. And of course, I know you because we work together. Actually, we kind of passed by each other, didn't we? Because you came to Czech section of the BBC
way, yeah.
as I left, and I came to the Czech foreign news desk, Czech Radio foreign news desk that you had left to go to the BBC. So
sort of, yes.
And then
our road didn't cross.
But you also worked for print media, didn't you?
Yeah,
for a
while.
Time.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to explain again to the listeners, what kind of difference was it for you to switch from radio to print media and then back to radio?
Well, I think I wanted to experience something new and something different because I started in the radio. So at one point I thought it might be a good idea to try something different. So I went to the newspaper Hospodářské noviny, the Economic Daily. And all of it was a useful experience, I must say. All of it I would recommend to anybody, because I really do believe that it's healthy to change the position from time to time. Not too often, but from time to time. And when I started writing for the newspaper, I think the main difference was the rhythm. Mm-hmm. That obviously it's much slower when you work in the print, whereas in the radio things tend to happen more quickly. On the other hand, you spend a lot more time on one topic or one issue, and you usually have to do a lot more research, and it's more meticulous, the work for the print, I think, in my experience.
You know, in a way, I believe that I have the similar experience in that I stopped working for the newsroom, mm-hmm. and I started producing programs like Zaostřeno for Český rozhlas News, and some documentaries which are at least half hour long or 25 minutes long. And that's a huge difference. And these days, when I tried to produce something that is 4 or 3 minutes long, I'm kind of struggling because I don't have the time that I would like to have. So I think in this sense, I mean, this could be similar. But you worked for the Hospodářské noviny Daily in the time when already the print media were said to be in a kind of deep crisis because of online. What is the situation like, do you think, now? I mean, has it changed since then?
Your Partially right, because when I was there, it's been some time already. When I was working for the Economic Daily, it still was the time when the circulation was quite large. So it still was the time when people were actually buying newspapers, paper newspapers, and I think it's changed completely since then. So I don't even know today if the style of work is the same in newspapers, because it's become online, obviously, to a very, very large extent. I think that what might survive are magazines, with weeklies and monthlies and so on. But newspapers, at such daily newspapers, I don't even know. I would be afraid to ask my former colleagues what's it like, because they have to do, they are forced to do many different things. They have to organize conferences and seminars and obviously podcasts. Who doesn't? Yeah. So it's changed completely, I believe, the work.
All the major, what used to be newspapers now have podcasts, of course. Yeah. Some of the articles you can get online in audio, sound. I just wonder, when you were there, and that we are talking, to be honest, what was it, like 10 years ago?
Oh dear, no, it's longer. It's much longer, actually. It's 10 years ago, at least.
I just wonder whether these days the pressure is that you have to update, for example, the articles if you write on a subject.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
And you have to do it online, so it's not like what it used to be traditionally. You write an article, then editor has a look at it, and then it comes out, then that's it. These days, I suppose, you have to work on it constantly. But as you indicated, we are here at Charles University, so you decided to kind of switch the flip, to put it put it like that again. What made you do that?
Once again, I felt like I needed a change, and I thought it might be a good idea to try something completely different this time. Not just to go to another media, but try another job position. And it is new, yes. I'm still learning many things after after all 3 and something months. So yeah, I still feel I'm at the very beginning, and it's very hard to sum it up, because it's still in early stages, if I should say so. But what made me do it was an urge to try something different, and I felt like I needed a change. So it was a very personal decision, because I'm still in love with the radio, and I still love the job as such. The work in the studio, the microphone and the interviews and everything, it hasn't changed at all. I'm still very enthusiastic about that. But I had been in the same job position for 11 years, and I think it's too much. I think that at least from time to time you need a sabbatical or something like that. So that's why.
We will definitely get to Charles University in a moment, but let me just say that one of the first interviews for Czechast was with Martin Řezníček, our former colleague as well in the Czech television, and we kind of agreed. He told me that when he speaks to young journalists who come, to Czech television, he tells them that it's always better, or at the university here, where I think he was teaching something as well, that he tells them it's always good, if you are a journalist, to have a different kind of experience, maybe study something different than just journalism, which he himself paradoxically studied journalism, but he says he would probably try to study something else. And why I'm talking about that, my daughter actually, who is now finishing her secondary education, was kind of flirting with the idea of going to the media. And I keep telling her, study something different. Don't study media. And now my question, is that your position as well? Is that something that you would think as well, that it's always good to have a completely different experience if you come to work as a journalist? That is helpful.
Yes and no. if I look at my studies, I studied English first. I have a degree in teaching English, actually. So I started as a teacher, and then I went back to university and completed my MA studies in media studies. So I actually did study media, not journalism as such, but media. And I remember, to be very honest with you, that many of my colleagues or other students at the time were complaining about the university, that it's not very useful and that it's too general and too much theory or whatever. But I believe that actually it gave me a lot. And I realized only after years that it actually was quite useful, that it actually gave me some insight, or that it allowed me to look at the world of media from a different and learned point of view. So I agree. Yes and no. It's in a way, because
but it helped you.
It helped me. On the other hand, if I take the idea that it's useful to study something different and then perhaps become a journalist, then still you will need someone who will teach you how to be a proper journalist. And who will that be? Because as far as I know, and I'm really worried about this, that the media are actually weaker and weaker, and there is less and less time and space to educate their own employees. That's what I feel about the state of media today. So who will actually teach these people what it means to be a journalist? Why do we do it, or do you do it, or not me?
Well, I just have this kind of motto: be curious, and I just do it because I'm interested in a subject, and I really love, interviewing people, asking about something. The problematic part of the work for me is when I have interviewed some people about a subject, I already have kind of satisfied my curiosity. I know what it's about. And now I have to kind of present it, and I already know what I needed to know. And I don't feel very much by like investing the time into doing the work again. But here we are at Charles University. When people say Charles University, of course, everyone thinks Prague. I mean, that's the most prominent Czech university in Czechia. But I'm not quite sure that we appreciate how the institution developed. And if I may ask a little bit to remind the listeners about the history of Charles University, of course it was founded by Charles IV, but it wasn't always called the Charles University, was it? If you were to give a brief kind of story of Charles University.
Well, it's been 700 years or so. It's not a really...
It's a long story.
It's a very long story. There are people who would give you a much better description of the history of the university. But first thing, when you say Charles University in Prague, it's not really true. Because today there are 17 faculties and some of them are in Pilsen, some of them are in Hradec Králové. So it's not only Prague, actually. It's one of the first things we need to explain when we talk about the university, Charles University today.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just wondering, Hradec Králové, of course, it's a school of medicine, isn't it?
Yes, and pharmacy.
And pharmacy. And in Pilsen, it's medicine as well?
Medicine as well, yeah.
As well? Mm-hmm. Any other faculties in other cities?
No, that's it.
No, that's it. Yes. Yep. But yes, I mean, Charles University is not just in Prague, it's also in Pilsen and Hradec Králové.
That's correct. Yep.
Sorry, you can go on now.
So, the history, it's a huge bonus, obviously, and everybody in the Charles University is extremely proud of those 700 years of history. On the other hand, it's quite a challenge for the university today to not to look as a historical monument. because obviously people who work here really try really hard and do their best to create a very modern, contemporary, fabulous, trendy place where people want to study and people want to teach. So it's like, two-edged sword. There's history. So on one hand, there is this fantastic legacy. On the other hand, we cannot present the university only as the biggest and the oldest in the Czech Republic, because what we all want to do here is to create a very, very modern and
it's a living institution,
up-to-date living institution.
And I'm sorry, I do not want to surprise you, but roughly how many students are there? How many employees?
There is about 9,000 something employees and about 55,000 students. It's above 50,000 students.
So it's quite huge, yeah.
It's huge. It's like, just imagine, it's like quite a big town.
Is Charles University perhaps part of some international networks? I would assume that yes, of course.
Yes,
yeah.
It's the 4+ with. And what I hear from my colleagues, it's one of the biggest things and one of the most important topics at all, because the tendency to internationalization of the university, really many people view as a key to successful future, really. So yes, indeed, and the Czechast University has a very valued partnership with some of the most prestigious universities on the continent, like Sorbonne or Heidelberg and others. So yes, the Czechast University is a part of this. Is it allowed to say cluster?
Yeah, cluster. Yeah,
I'm not sure, but it's taken most seriously here within the Czechast University that if it wants to be successful, it has to be internationalized. And the tendency to have more foreign students, to have more academics coming from all over the world, it's a must, and everybody agrees that that's the way. Both the science and the education, because those are the two main pillars for the university. So the science, the research, and the education, both of these pillars really benefit strongly from international surroundings. So, in other words, when I go back to your question, yes, the Czechast University is a part of this European network of universities.
And of course, there are programs like Erasmus, for example.
Sure.
And me, as a parent of my son, actually went to Estonia for half a year under Erasmus.
Same as mine.
Yeah, same too. Oh,
yep.
That's interesting. And then he went to Konstanz in Germany.
That
we call Kostnice, like Jan Hus died. And of course, that was something that was a great experience for him. Is there, I don't want to surprise you, is it possible to say what sort of percentage of the students of Prague, of Charles University, actually uses Erasmus or uses this opportunity?
I actually don't have the exact number here.
I'm just trying to get an idea whether it's a half or whether it's majority. Or whether it's
if half of the students go away free? I don't think so. I don't think it's quite as much, but it's thousands definitely. And yes, when they come back, it's for the vast majority of them, it's a really life-changing experience. It's one of the greatest advantages of our times, I believe. Our times. What I mean is, living in the EU.
Let's be open about it. It's been some time, since we went to college. Of course, I studied in the 1980s, so there were virtually no possibilities, or very few. And the biggest break for me was when I got into an exchange program with the School of Slavonic and East European Studies in London back in 1988. still under communism, but you studied a little later, I think.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I wonder
it was the
was it
90s,
like
yeah.
in the 90s.
The wild 90s, come on. didn't have too much time for studying at that time. Yeah, but it's a good point. When I was studying in the 90s, I think something like Erasmus was starting, but there were some students who went abroad for a while, but it was quite unique.
It was still quite unique, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
And I wonder when it changed. Really, was it with the entry to the European Union?
Absolutely.
You think
Yes.
so?
Oh yes.
2004 was the breaking date.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that. That's one of the, I believe personally, one of the greatest benefits of the EU, that all these young people can have this experience of going and studying somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid I haven't got the exact number here, but
That's okay.
it's surely becoming more and more popular. On the other hand, there are students who actually take it as something so normal.
They don't feel like using the opportunity.
Absolutely not. It's like,
no, I actually have a friend who teaches at Palacký University, and now I'm talking about something like 10 years ago as well. We were talking, or maybe 8 years ago, and she was complaining actually that they have possibilities to send students for Erasmus programs, and they don't fill it up because students just don't feel like going.
Yeah, I'm sure that might happen. Yep. Yeah.
But you don't have that problem here at Charles University.
It could be individually.
It depends on the faculty, I suppose.
Depends on the faculty. It depends on the student.
And on the departments.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it, that we, well, I don't complain about our membership in the European Union, but a lot of people do complain about European Union without even realizing. I mean, what sort of possibilities it opened once we entered more than 20 years ago.
I believe this is one of the biggest ones.
Now imagine that you are speaking to perhaps parents elsewhere in Europe, somewhere, and they were thinking perhaps of sending their children to study in Czechia, because that's another thing that we often forget. We don't pay any tuition fees at the public universities. If you were to kind of get their attention and try to lure their children to study at Charles University, why should they come?
It's one of the most prestigious universities in Central Europe. I say it very proudly. There are 17 faculties, so there is a choice, really, quite a lot of it. And there are places within the university where you actually do encounter the top-level research and science. So if they're interested in I may say, excellence, then the Charles University is really the place. There's a lot of choice. There are many different fields of study which you can browse through and choose. There are, I think, not too many people who would not want to live in Prague, at least for a while. So that's one of the greatest advantages, obviously, that you actually may spend a year or 2 or 5 in Prague, or in these 2 other cities, which are nice in a different way. Obviously, they're smaller and quieter.
That's the Hradec Králové and Plzeň. Yeah,
and Plzeň. And at least they should come and see, or at least have a look at the web pages of the university to see what it can offer to the students. So, sure, give it a try, at least.
Let me just ask you a little bit about student hostels and staying in Prague. Of course, I mean, Prague is a big kind of draw. I mean, on the people want to stay here, but living expenses are getting higher and higher. What does it look like with the student hostels? I mean, is that a problem that you are... I mean, I don't know whether it's a problem, but is that something that you have to deal with a lot? I mean, when...
It's something which needs some attention, to be perfectly honest, because there are actually enough places or enough beds, and usually it turns out that whoever wants to stay at this hostel or the dormitory, they usually do get their bed. On the other hand, some of them are quite modest. Yeah, it's true.
It's very basic. Yeah.
It's very basic, but it's something that the university is really, really aware of, and quite a lot of people are trying really hard to improve it. So, and it's improving. It is. There are more and more places. There are more and more beds. There are more and more dormitories. Which have been modernized and better equipped and so on. But yes, let's not pretend. It is a bit of a challenge, because I've heard it from a colleague who deals with the international students, and he said that 90% of the complaints are about the dormitories. So it's almost no one complains about the studies, actually. The students studying at the Czechast University are very much satisfied with the studies, actually, but they struggle with the dorms.
There's one more thing that I wanted to ask you about, since you flipped the switch, so to speak, again, and changed this, and something that is related to it. It is my feeling, I haven't got any numbers to support this, but from my experience from the United States and from Britain, it seems to me that there are more students who, for example, study, I don't know, history or English language, when they do BA, and then they completely flip the switch and, for example, go and do MA in law. They go to law school, or they do something completely different, sometimes even unrelated, to what they had studied.
Yeah.
That is my feeling. Again, I haven't got the numbers, but do you feel that here at Charles University, students tend to follow the same path throughout if they study both BA and MA?
Yeah. It depends very much on the field of study. When you start to study medicine, you are very likely to become a doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's very similar with lawyers as well. But for example, social sciences, that I believe happens quite often, that they start with sociology and end up with international studies or something like that. So it depends on this, I think, very much.
And again, just to give the listeners an idea, when we talk about international students in Prague, roughly, we were talking about 50,000 students altogether?
Yeah, 50,000 plus, altogether.
50,000 plus. Is it possible, to say, I know that it changes over time again as well, how many of these 50,000 are international students visiting shortly, or?
It would be very, very easy to find the exact number, but I believe it's about, it's thousands, definitely.
It's probably less than 10,000, but it's in thousands.
I think it's around 8,000 students at the Czechast University.
So, Jan, thanks very much for your time, and good luck in your work.
It's been a great pleasure, and many, many thanks.
You've been listening to Czechia in 30 minutes. I'm Vít Pohanka, and if you'd like to hear the full version of my conversation with Jan Bumba, you can find it on our sister podcast, Czechast, a podcast in English about all things Czech. I'm Vít Pohanka, and thank you for listening.
This is Radio Prague International, coming to you from the Czech capital.